Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Today we're going to talk about SNK 40th Anniversary Edition. And I got this game for one reason, and one reason only. And it's because it's the first time that I'm going to ever own a game that is very special to me, right? I used to play this game on the arcades, and that game is Vanguard. Of course, you saw the title. Man, that game got me through some stuff, all right? So, believe it or not, if anybody younger here is watching, your mom, your dad, whoever you think is really old, once they were also in high school, once they were also kids, and once they went through the same stuff that you're going through. We all tend to go through the same things, right? Some things may seem great at the time, and then you actually live them, and maybe they're not what you thought, right? One thing that happened to me, and this is why this game is so special to me, is that this is like the second, it's a year and a half, it's a year and a half since I've been back in the U.S., after living outside the U.S. for like 7 years. It's been a year after my father's death, and I was in junior high school at the time. And in the middle of being in junior high school, now take in mind, this is the second school I'm in within less than a year, right? So I was going to one school, finished there, now I'm in another school, and I'm barely getting my feet wet as far as getting to know people, and stuff like that. And I finished a year there. I finished 6th grade in the first school. Then I was supposed to do 7th grade, junior high school, middle school, whatever you guys call it out there. So I was in 7th grade. And in the middle of 7th grade, they told me, you know what, we're going to transfer you over to 8th grade. And the reason was that U.S. public schools are crap. And when you get an education outside the country, you're more advanced. You just are, especially in math and science. So they said, you know what, you're not coming back, right? You're not coming back next year. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're going to send you straight to high school. And I was like, what? And it wasn't even choice. It wasn't even like they told me, do you want to? It was just like, no, we're doing this. And that was that. So I told, my mom, and she was like happy, right? And everybody's like so proud. But I didn't want to leave my friends. It was so hard to make friends all this time, right? I've been like a year and a half without steady friends, right? And now here I go, I'm going to move again, and what could I do, right? So I get to the high school, and when I got there, people had two hobbies: joining gangs or doing drugs. And option number 3 was getting your ass kicked. So, at least the first year, especially as a freshman, not knowing anybody, man, it was interesting, to say the least, right? And some of you might be going through this. I don't know. Some of you might went through this. Who knows, right? So I get there, and and now I'm younger than everybody else. I don't know anybody, right? So one of the things that I knew is that the arcade was 2 blocks away from the high school, right? So, man, as soon as that bell rang, boom, I was out of there, And it was just a completely different scene for me, moving from class to class. I just didn't really have any contact with anybody because nobody knew me. Unfortunately, nobody from like my immediate neighborhood was going to that school. And all the kids that I used to, hang out with in the neighborhood, they were still a grade back, right? So, I had a hard time adjusting, right? It wasn't until like February of that year that I started getting to know people, and I met a few guys that were, you know, not, say 2 miles away, you know, a mile away from my house. But anyway, this is how I coped, right? I wanted to get off the streets because you don't want to be, you don't want to be a target for anybody. Because I'm telling you, if you were out in the open by yourself, you're just asking to get your ass kicked, right? There was actually packs of guys looking for fights. I mean, that was just it. There was no way around it, right? So I knew better, you know. I just boom, I take off, go straight to the arcade, and once I got there, you know, all the guys that were ditching were already there, right? And we had an open campus school, right? So you can leave anytime you want. So all the seniors would go, you know, and everybody that screwed around would go to the arcade, and it's called the Electric Planet. So, you know, all the good machines, supposedly good machines, were taken. You know, Defender, Punch Out, Sinistar, I mean, you know, Star Wars, Tron. You couldn't get close to those machines. Those machines were already owned. Even if the guys were out of money, they're standing there like, give me a quarter. If you wanted to play the machine, you had to give them a quarter, and then you could play. So I found, you know, I just, you know, knew my place in the pecking order there, so I kept moving farther and farther down. Now at that point, I've been playing like Galaxian, you know, Pac-Man, and I played a lot of Cobra. Remember that little rocket ship would drop bombs on the fuel cells? You know, you keep on going, keep on fighting. Sometimes they do it with a helicopter. There's a few knockoffs, right? But those were some of my favorite games at the time. But when I saw Vanguard, right, I just saw a little ship and it was shooting. So I thought, okay, well, this I can enjoy and play. So I popped into my quarter, man. And it blew me away. It blew me away because it had so much variety at that time, okay? The game has not aged well. It hasn't. There's any, you know, I don't know if you guys have that, where you have games that they're special to you. It doesn't mean that they're awesome games. Sometimes they are, but sometimes the games aren't all that awesome, but they hold a special place in your heart because, you know, they just got you through stuff, or they have a special memory for you. And that's what this does for me, man. I mean, this game got me through 4 months of hard adjustment, right? Of, you know, just trying to, you know, just trying to stay alive out in these streets, man. Because I was, you know, I'm the oldest and I'm the only male, right? So I had no big brothers, you know, or anything like that. It was just me, you know. I was my own backup. So trying to navigate those early months, I mean, it was tough. You know, I'm not going to say it wasn't. I mean, it was a constant dodging and you know, and especially if you weren't into gang activity, it wasn't the most pleasant, I have to say. So anyway, I got to this arcade and I got to the machine, and thankfully enough, nobody else liked the game. So I would just go play and play and play, man. And every afternoon, this one spot was my little piece of heaven, right? This arcade, the Electric Planet, and Vanguard were my piece of heaven, and it got me through so much crap. So I'm glad I finally own the game now. Throughout the years, there's been other versions that came out. Unfortunately, I couldn't own them for A, B, C reasons, but that game was always close to my heart. I finally own it, so now it's a special day. And I'm sure I'm going to play other games in the collection, but this is the main reason why I wanted to buy this collection. So, without any further ado, I'm going to play a little bit of the game here. I'm going to put it on automatic, and this is a great feature this has, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. What is it that all those years ago, and I mean many years ago, so many that say, you know, it's the 40th years 40th year collection, right? So yeah, it's been a long time, and I'm happy I finally own the game. So bear with me. I'm gonna try to flip around here. I'm gonna put it in automatic, and you guys can watch this gameplay and listen to the voices, especially the voice of these games. I mean, that digitized voice is always what does it for me. Bear with me here. I'm gonna try to switch it. I'm gonna put it in that little stand there. Yeah, there we go. Close the curtains to the balcony here. I can't tell you guys what a time adjusting I've had not having my collection. Ooh, so it has this watch feature. So I'm gonna try to blow it up here. All right. Yeah, and you know, back then it fascinated me just hearing it talk. You know, I mean, that was a lot of the charm of the game for me. Let's see here. Rainbow Zone. And I remember thinking at the time, man, these games, man, these graphics, they're getting so good, you know, and you know, the systems we had at home, I mean, no way could they get to this, you know. I mean, we're talking 2600 days, you know what I'm saying? This is the pick zone, baby. You know, I'm really glad it has this because there's no way in heck I would have not died by then. By now, I mean. Now, to paint the picture, as you know, as I'm playing these games, right, in the arcade, oh, this is my favorite level. I don't know why, but just energizing on this level, it was the best for me. But anyway, just to paint a picture for you of what I was in while this was going on, right? I'm playing here. I'm trying to be a good kid, a good guy, you know. I'm like 13, 14 years old. And outside, there's guys getting their ass whooped. There's, you know, dry humping. There's, oh my gosh, you know. And I'm younger than everybody else. You have to remember this. So I'm in high school before my time. And there's people getting their asses beat outside too, you know, over the games, right? So if you didn't want to give the quarter, or, you know, you beat somebody again, I mean, whatever. I mean, there was just, you know how it is. Oh, these guys laughing. You actually have to crash into them to shut them up. And that's how you get points. And this was unlike anything that I was looking at shooters. You know, I was more to, you know, like I told you, Cobra, you know, Galaxian. Probably the only thing I could equate it with would be like Phoenix, and that's another great game. And that's a little short run through, man, of the game. Oh, let me open this window here. So anyways, guys, that's Vanguard for you. I hope to be back tomorrow. with the fitness video. At least I'm gonna start walking. I just lost a lot of water weight these last 2 days. But I'm glad I finally have this game. It really does mean a lot to me. And how these programs, right? Because now I'm not even talking physical. How these programs, how these games affected us all these years later. Man, it's still great to reminisce and talk about. And one of the reasons I make these videos is I want to share, especially with my family, and have stories about my childhood and what I went through, and why I love games so much. That it's just not an addiction or something that I do for the heck of it. No, these games have meaning to me for a lot of reasons, because they help me cope in the hardest of times in my life. And I've led a great life, don't get me wrong. I've had a great life. I don't want to make it seem like my life is tragedy. Bad things have happened to me just like they happen to everybody else. But rather than cope with them with really bad stuff, which I try to do like any teenager would, I'm just blessed I was able to eventually just filter all the crap that happens to you as a human being through video games. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Don't be afraid to be happy. And I'll see you in Gen X Gamer Fitness. Don't forget, take care. Bye.